But I think in order to understand this book fully, we need to understand the author. So Ken, last year you attended Brand Accelerator Live, and tell me about Scott.
Yeah. So I found Scott Voelker's podcast, over 2 years ago, The Amazing Seller. So for anybody that's not heard of that, you're under a rock. Come out of the rock and go look at. I think he's got over 1,000 episodes or something, of podcasting experience. But so I've been following Scott for a couple of years now, and I heard last year he was doing his own event, and I thought, man, this sounds like a good, kind of a good crew, and I really respect Scott and his non-flashy persona. Like he doesn't scroll around in the Lambos, and so I went to Brand Accelerator Live, and it was a really good event, and got to meet Scott and his team. And you can really tell a lot about somebody by looking at who they surround themselves with, right? I think what really stood out to me was, like you mentioned, the book was, there's a lot of stuff. The book was written, I think, to add value to your life, right? And it's broken down into very distinct chapters on how to take action, right? The whole thing is take action, but for me, it's like relatable. Scott is relatable, right? Like just a guy you would meet out on the job site, or just a normal guy who has massive amounts of success, and the reason he has that success is because he consistently takes action. So that's Scott in a nutshell.
Absolutely. It's interesting when you listen to a podcast for several years, you have a person in your ear for potentially hundreds of hours, and you feel like you've gotten to know them. And I have not met Scott in person. I do plan on going to the next Brand Accelerator Live event, but there are a couple things that really stand out to me. One, the guy, when I think of the definition of self-made man, it's him. It's the title of this book, The Take Action Effect, really personifies his whole attitude on life. There are roadblocks, and he just busts right through them. And we'll talk about several of those throughout the episode. But, not knowing how to do something doesn't seem to ever stop him. He goes out, he finds the resources needed, and he masters the subject at hand. And he's done that over and over again. And, he talks in this book about momentum. Once you accomplish one goal, knocking down goal number 2 and goal number 3 are easier, because you can do it. And he started off in construction, made a pivot to photography, and then has been involved in all sorts of e-commerce for probably the last decade. Has a course, has a live event, and has no formal training in any of those, but he has found the information that he needs and seems to be successful.
Yeah, that's when you sit back and unpack that and think about it, it's pretty amazing. One of the stories it's in the book. It's Scott was a contractor working for his dad's company, and he just decided, hey, one day I want to do something different, right? I want to spend more time with my family, and one thing that sticks out in my mind is he went from a contractor to building these VCR projector machines in his basement. Like, didn't know how to do that, but he's like, well, I'm going to figure out how. I believe the story is he found one and saw that it sold, on eBay or whatever for a lot of money, and was like, hey, I think I could do that. So goes, gets one, tears it apart, figures it out, builds it, and then starts selling those. And and like you had mentioned, consistently pivoting when that dried up or when that changed or another opportunity presented itself. He said, okay, I'm going to try that, right? And over time, like you mentioned, the momentum just built, and consistent, steady pivoting and taking action. But yeah, it's kind of an amazing story.